Right, check-in on Facebook is just like, say you went to Witherspoons in Hope Street in Glasgow, for example, then you would log into your Facebook on your phone, and then you'd press check-in and then type in where you are, and then it would come up saying like Ava Joe is at Witherspoons, Glasgow. So then everybody in your whole friends list would ken where you are.
Well, at least you have the choice about whether to take part in it, to let people know, or decide to just kind of go about privately. At least there's that, but it sounds awful worrying to me, because you should see some of the length of some folks' Facebook pages, like all their friends list, thousands and thousands of friends. They kind of know every one of them.
I know.
Even if they do, they'll only know them maybe for saying hello and everything like that. It might have been a guy they met at night, or somebody they met at the train or whatever. And the problem with that is, especially for like younger folk, younger women in particular, I would think, it can be quite dangerous. Potentially for like paedophiles or something. Let's say if a 14-year-old says about Wetherspoons, as you gave the example of, then that kind of person can easily take advantage of you.
Aye.
I would say, I suppose, I'm kind of uncomfortable with the idea, but as long as you don't need to take part in it, I suppose it has maybe a kind of merit to it, as long as it maybe should have the likes of an age barrier, maybe 18, 16, because if you're a bit younger, maybe you can be a bit naive and thinking to all these older people, telling them where you are. It could increase like bullying and all sorts of things.
Aye.
As long as you're kind of mature enough to ken what you're doing, that is. I don't know how people would want to do that though. It sounds pointless to me. I can't see there's only major kind of social issue attached to it. I think it sounds kind of, if you want to do it, fine, but it seems pretty pointless kind of thing to do to me. I would say. What was the second part of the question?
I was just asking what you made of it, and kind of the contrast between folk complaining about like reduced privacy, and between that and things like that, when folk are actually wanting to volunteer information as to the likes of where they are.
Well, I suppose as long as it's voluntary, and but the problem with that is that you don't always know when it's voluntary that somebody might kind of if genuinely hand in heart they would want to do it, fine, but there's a lot of peer pressure to like saying you must take part in this, you must kind of tell everybody on your friends page where you are at this particular time, and if you don't do it, you can be a kind of outcast. That's what I would think. It's definitely, I would say, for younger people, slightly worrying. For older people, utterly pointless. What about yourself? When you think, would you go along?
Personally, I wouldn't use it.
Right.
I don't. Personally, I just don't see the point in it. I just, it's not really the fact that I wouldn't. It's not the fact that I would hate everybody kenning where I was. I just don't. It's just basically I don't see the point in letting everybody ken where I am. It's just. It's. I just no for me personally, but each to their own, I suppose.
Well, the c.c.t.v thing, that's much more significant. I read somewhere, I don't know if this is true or not, but I probably quite believe it. British people these days are the most spied on people in human history. Nothing, the likes of East Germany can't compare. According to there was a lot of spying going on there, an awful lot, but apparently there's more in this country these days. This city we're in at the moment, Partick in Glasgow, there's more c.c.t.v cameras than anywhere else in the whole of Scotland, maybe up here for Edinburgh, I would think. And the problem with them is, they always say it's for reducing crime and everything like that. for one thing, I don't believe, if that's what they're trying to use them for, it doesn't work. I don't think. And another thing is, the way I think crime should be reduced, it's no hard, it's just, look at how people are committing crimes. It's like, usually people desperate for food, so they shoplift, desperate for money, so they rob a bank, desperate for attention, so they try and beat somebody up in the street or something like that. It's kind of, crime comes from poverty and kind of despair. That's what really has to be looked at. It's like the basic issues that have been there for hundreds of years. How are people living? Do they have proper living standards? And do they have a life worth living? That is what you have to look before spying on people and prosecuting them. Do they have a life worth living? But obviously that is something that governments these days don't seem interested in whatsoever.
Right. This third one is kind of related to the first one. Like some of the stuff you said for the first one would probably be similar to this. But this is quite a major one for us, obviously. It's to do with unemployment prejudice. Often we hear they say, people that are working saying, "I'm paying taxes to keep you." What do you think about that phrase?
Well, paying taxes to keep you. In the technical sense, of course it's true, but what the problem with that is that they're obviously no just kind of taking it upon themselves to kind of phrase a kind of a fact. They've got intent behind it, and the intent behind it is that unemployed people are lazy, and it's their own fault that they can't get a job. And if everybody that had a job, didn't have a job, go after fat lazy arses and got to the job centre, everybody would fin you in and everything would be fine. That is genuinely the way a lot of people think, and that's genuinely what a lot of people feel like. They're just the unemployed are worse than vermin in a lot of cases. I've heard just a few weeks ago, it was your mum. She's in the charity shop she works in. There was somebody, what's described these days as a junkie, had a heart attack in Kilmarnock, and the manager of that charity shop said, "Well, it's unfortunate they didn't pass away. That would be one less." That's the kind of attitude we have. But the problem is, unemployment is an economic problem. The fact is that the type of economy that we have in this country at the present doesn't provide sufficient employment for everybody that wants to work. And it's no some fault, it's no some terrible thing that nobody can solve. That's the way it's intended to be. There's no meant to be employment for everybody, and the reason for this is, it goes back to late 70s, early 80s time when Margaret Thatcher, the beginning of this kind of deregulated labour market and the kind of reorganising the workplace in favour of employers. There used to be a lot more employment. It was easier to get a job, far easier. You can hear the Olgin saying you could leave school and get a job the same day, no bother. And that's all gone. But that's deliberate. It didn't just disappear and folk were saying, "Oh, that's a shame." It was deliberate, and the reason for that was because of the full employment gave workers far too much power in the eyes of the Conservative Party.